G'day guys, it's Josh here from CyclonesOZ, and this is your detailed Australia-wide weather forecast update for Friday the 3rd of July 2026. You've made it almost the end of the week. We've got not an awful lot to get through today. We've got a tropical low in the northeastern waters of Australia over the Solomon Islands, which is going to be our main talking point. But beyond that, we have a big stretch of fine weather coming to mostly southern Australia, but also to portions of northern Australia as well. So keep an eye on the timestamps of these videos because they are going to be a little bit shorter in the next couple of days. But if you're enjoying the daily updates, then please do consider hitting that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is what's going to be tropical low 41U here, developing in the Solomon Islands. You can see right now it is a bit trophy in nature, elongated, but this system here is beginning to get itself together. We've got a bit of an area of low pressure developing around the surface, but it is still quite elongated and trophy. It's not a tight or closed area of low pressure at this point in time, but plenty of good thunderstorm activity developing around it. Now, at this point in time, and at pretty much every point in time, this is not going to be a threat to Australia, and there's really no impacts expected on the Australian mainland, bar an increase in shower activity for the North Tropical Coast, which means Cairns might see 15 millimeters indirectly related to this tropical low pressure system. However, there is a boatload of rainfall coming for our friends into the Solomon Islands, particularly PNG as well. You can see here up to a meter of the stuff is coming for a few areas here just on the eastern peripheries of Papua New Guinea. So a very significant rainfall event for these areas, and you can also see a boatload of rainfall coming for other areas of the Solomon Islands, particularly for those islands that are directly exposed to the rainfall on the eastern flank of this low pressure system. So plenty of rainfall coming through, and whilst this low pressure system is not likely to develop into a full-blown tropical low or even a tropical cyclone for that matter, we're really not expecting a tropical cyclone out of this system. It goes to highlight, and the next couple of days will really prove my point here, that sometimes it's the winds that aren't the chief concern with these systems. When you're talking about tropical low pressure systems and tropical cyclones, you've also got to factor in rainfall, waves, air pressure, a whole host of other factors, as well as the actual location that these places are impacting. Obviously, a Category 1 cyclone is going to be a whole lot more impactful to a place like Papua New Guinea than it would be to central Queensland, if that does make sense. The system gets ripped apart here from a southerly flow picking up on Saturday and into Sunday, and then into Monday, I should say, and that southerly flow is directly associated with a very powerful typhoon that's going to get itself going here out into the Western Pacific Ocean. In fact, yesterday we broke a forecast model record, a global model with the lowest predicted MSLP on a tropical weather system. The ECMWF was calling for an 875 millibar super typhoon out here into the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it has backed off considerably today, but still with a central pressure peak or bottoming out at about 910 hectopascals. Forecast models rarely call for systems into the 920s, let alone the 910s, or our global models rarely go that intense. This system out here into the Western Pacific is going to be an absolute Goliath, and it's going to cause a significant impact once again to the Northern Mariana Islands here, Guam, Rota, Tinian. You're going to hear a bit of me talking about this in the next couple of days before it eventually goes on to impact the Batanes Islands between Philippines and Taiwan, then eventually Taiwan itself, and potentially the southern Ogasawara Islands as well, which are these islands down here, and eventually off in towards China. So a very significant system, and I've always got a soft spot for Western Pacific systems because that's actually where my meteorology interests kind of have fostered, I guess, between 2019 and 2020 with typhoons such as Hagibis, Goni. We also had Typhoon Rai. I could talk for days about systems into the Western Pacific Ocean. They interest me almost as much as tropical cyclones in the Australian region, but we don't have any tropical cyclone activity in Australia, and I don't really want to be talking about tropical cyclone activity for another couple of months at least. We're in winter. Let me enjoy my time off. Anyways, around Australia, whilst we do have a few more showers and storms coming through into the southeast today, you can see it's a pretty woolly start here for portions of Victoria, Tassie, and into New South Wales. In fact, we're just coming off the back of blizzard conditions up here into the New South Wales high country. Let's have a look at some of those webcams right now because it is a winter's wonderland up here. Look at this here. And again, another perfect forecast, 25 centimeters of snow. You can see here 25 centimeters falling at the snow stake. Again, coming off exactly as we called it here on this channel. So excellent conditions across the Victorian and New South Wales high country. Perfect as we're in school holidays now, or heading into school holidays, and we're going to have a lot of people down on these ski resorts. The weather will begin to ease off throughout the course of today. You can see a reduction in shower activity contracting down to the coastal areas later tonight and then eventually off in towards Tasmania, but they're going to be stuck in that roaring 40 flow for the time being, so you're expecting more shower and thunderstorm activity through the west coast of Tassie. For the most part, as high pressure redevelops pretty quickly, Saturday and Sunday are expecting to be mostly mostly fine for southeastern Australia, so this includes SA, New South Wales, the ACT, Victoria, and of course Tasmania. And the high pressure system responsible for it is going to be a big one. 1,043 hectopascals by Sunday afternoon over the top of Hobart, increasing to 1,044 hectopascals. This high pressure system here is going to be one of the stronger ones that we see. Very quickly falls away through Monday and Tuesday, though, as a bit of a weak low pressure trough pushes up into Tassie. But the case here is very isolated shower activity is expected through today. And then as we push in towards Monday and Tuesday, shower activity does begin to return for a few coastal locations, but still mostly fine down here through the southeast. For the east coast, we are looking at an increase in shower activity, and that's typically the case when we've got high pressure systems moving into the Great Australian Bight and then eventually off into the Tasman Sea. We've already got some pretty significant rainfall accumulations on the forecast for a few portions offshore from New South Wales. Falls between that 75 to 125 millimetre calibre over the next 2 weeks, and it's not all going to fall at once, which means it's not going to catch anyone off guard, and obviously no flooding is expected. Now, as high pressure pushes into the region, this weekend is expected to be fine and mostly clear. Rainfall does begin to develop through portions of the New South Wales coastline through Sunday, which means a few showers are expected to extend up and down the coastline through places such as Sydney, Port Macquarie, Coffs Harbour, and then up towards Lismore and Byron Bay. A few showers at times could poke into the Brisbane metro area as well, but they will be contracted mostly to coastal locations. Monday's when shower activity begins to become a little bit more widespread. That's as that high pressure system properly pushes out into the Tasman Sea. And you can see here through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that shower activity is expected to continue. It's not going to be heavy at any point in time. So we're talking about very patchy shower activity, very hard to predict, and it's the sort of stuff that's going to add up over the course of a week. But it would be safe to assume that most of coastal New South Wales, and I'm talking coastal here, so if you're within 5 k's of the coast, this includes you, could see between 25 and 50 millimetres of rainfall in the next 10 days. Areas a little bit further inland, so you're talking 5 to 50 kilometres away from the coastline, you're talking falls dropping down to about 10 millimetres, and then beyond 50 kilometres inland, you're looking at very little rainfall, if you don't get any rainfall at all. So drier as you get further inland is sort of the memo here. Similar story for southeastern Queensland, but slightly drier with the Sunshine Coast expecting the lion's share of the rainfall. Friday, Saturday, Sunday are expected to be a little bit more interesting. We do have the forecast models calling for some kind of interesting low pressure system activity. We've actually got a bit of a cut-off low pressure system here on the ECMWF forecast models, but this is more resembling of an upper trough at this point in time. The EC has really backed off on its expectations here for rainfall through the southeast, as I expected it to do so in previous forecast updates. What this does mean, though, as we head out towards next weekend, some light rainfall could extend through portions of Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, and it could be quite widespread in nature, but it's a bit of a question now as to whether this is going to be an upper level system or a surface-based system. If it remains in the upper levels, rainfall will be very patchy. If it does sink down into the surface levels, then we will have a little bit more widespread rainfall, but you can see here very light and insignificant accumulations is what the expectation is right now. And you can see it quite clearly as we include 14-day rainfall accumulations here. It is pretty dry through New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia. I mean, it is still winter, so we would be expecting a little bit more rainfall than this, but as we discussed in yesterday's forecast update, it's quite unusual to see, particularly the western coast of Tasmania, go a week without seeing 150 millimetres of rainfall, but we've got half of that falling over the next 2 weeks, so a quarter of the rainfall that we would normally expect for this time of the year, and that is in keeping with our forecast suggesting that July is going to be quite dry, and August is expected to be very dry here through Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia, and Tasmania. So not good news if you are hanging out for some rainfall or some more rainfall in these regions. It's also not looking that favourable over in Western Australia, but some more rainfall systems are expected to move into that region. So let's talk about that one right now. High pressure beginning to push in towards WA. So this is expected to be the dominant force pushing in towards this weekend, which means fine, calm and collected weather through today, tomorrow, and to start things off on Sunday. A weak cold front begins pushing up into the southwest land division through Sunday, but it is exactly that. It's very weak in nature. It's not going to have any damaging winds or severe weather elements with it, but it could bring a little bit of rainfall to the southwest, including the Perth Peel region through Sunday afternoon and evening. Timing is critical here, but it does look like the bulk of the rainfall is going to fall at least into the Perth metro area after dark. Rainfall is pretty quick to ease off though. You can see by Monday afternoon, showers have all but cleared here through most of the southwest as high pressure becomes the dominant force once again. And then through the middle portions of next week, another weak cold front pushing up. And as we push out to the long range, it is again a picture dominated by high pressure. The ultra long range modelling here beyond about the 14th or the 15th of July does expect some stronger cold frontal activity with some good showers associated with it, but I'm still quite skeptical. Obviously, long-range forecasting is very hit or miss, and it is a bit of a roll of the dice beyond about the 10-day forecast period here, which is where we're looking at right now. So southwestern WA in the next 10 days is looking at a pretty dry picture. A couple of drops of rainfall expected from Sunday's system. It is going to be one of those cases where some places will get a lot more than others, so you might only pick up 3 millimeters of rainfall whilst your friend down the road picks up 30 millimeters of rainfall. That's just the case with these slow-moving shower-based frontal systems, and again, with a little bit of instability in the mix, we might be looking at some thunderstorm potential as well, but nothing of the severe variety. As we push things out into the longer range, we do get a little bit more rainfall spreading through portions of WA and especially down into the southwest and central west regions, but at this point in time, it is exactly that. It's a bit too early to say for sure exactly what the expectation is. Right now, we've got a shortwave moving across northern portions of Australia, and you can see that quite clearly up into the 500 HPA range. We do have that trough beginning to push up into the region. Now, as this trough kind of strengthens and buckles, and you can see those surface isobars get closer together up here, we will see areas of shower and light rainfall develop through portions of northern WA, the Northern Territory, and then eventually off in towards Queensland. You can see that here on the surface pattern. A few areas of rainfall could get quite heavy at times through tonight and into tomorrow. This will push out towards western Queensland and ease through Sunday, with weather conditions returning to fine, calm and collected from about Sunday afternoon onwards. It's not unusual to see this at this time of the year, but it does go to show that we need to be looking at all levels of the atmosphere to really ascertain what's going on with the weather scene. But people travelling through the Northern Territory, especially into the southern half of the Northern Territory, sort of in this outline here, including Alice Springs, should be aware that there is some halfway respectable but very patchy rainfall on the forecast, and this could be the stuff that might warrant road closures in a few spots. So if you are travelling, keep an eye on those road closure information pages and just drive to the conditions. You can see nothing has developed there right now, but a bit of cloud activity beginning to develop, and it is starting to thicken up in this region as well. We've actually had some really good rainfall through these portions of the Northern Territory and WA, not just in the past couple of months, but in the last couple of years. So rivers and creeks will be pretty quick to respond, and roads will turn to slop very quickly. But as you can see on the forecast models, it is expected to be very patchy through tonight and into tomorrow morning, and there will be some heavier falls expected here and there, but exactly where those heaviest falls do end up is key to understanding where those roads are going to be closed, if they do get closed at all. Bit of instability in the environment as well, so wouldn't be surprised if a few thunderstorms came down as a result, and you can actually see that here on the thunderstorm forecast, a few suspect areas that could generate some brief lightning activity. Again, nothing of the severe variety. And that's it. That's all I can say at this point in time around Australia. A bit briefer, but we've still gone into a lot of detail and covered all bases, which is what we like to do here on this channel. And unfortunately, I'm going to be scratching my head over the next 2 weeks on what to do. So plenty more content is coming to the frontline subscribers as well, but I don't expect much in the way of severe weather events over the next 2, 3, maybe even the next 4 weeks. So I do apologize, but we will be, compensating frontline subscribers with plenty more content and heaps of reading in the next couple of days. We just supplied them with their El Nino forecast. So state by state, we went through and covered the key points of what is expected through winter and early spring. So if you aren't a member of the Frontline, go to cyclonesoz.com.au/subscribe. It is the best and most comprehensive early severe weather warning system around Australia, with up to 6 days notice ahead of severe weather events. I want to push that to 7. I want to be able to say that I can do 7 days yet, but I need a severe weather event to prove myself, and I don't want to be taking risks because the Frontline so far has been 100% bang on. That'll do it for me though today. Check out the Facebook page, but that'll be it, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.